Hey everybody, we are back with another Birdies Conversation. Today we are talking about one of my favorite things, creativity. How to spark creativity, how, it's in every single one of us. And we have two truly amazing humans here today that I'm so excited to talk to. And as always, you're not here to listen to me, you are here for our guests, so I want to get straight to them. Look, these conversations are here to help everybody level up professionally, personally, and I'm so excited for the people we've got here today because they are going to give us some amazing insight with their own personal experiences for how we can do the most with our own creativity at any level. So first, I want to introduce Brittany Eisenhower, goalkeeper for Angel City Football Club. Look, we hail you on the content team side as the queen of TikTok for our players. What what led you to realize that creating content was something that you wanted to do and it was something that you could do?
Yeah, I mean, it's never something that I thought of. I always thought of myself as an athlete and it's very physical. But once I started creating, using the platforms like Instagram and TikTok, I just really fell in love with the process and fell in love with trying to serve a community that is like me, serving somebody that I was once in their shoes, and that's what inspired me to continue, and I've just really loved the process so far.
Amazing. And we also have with us today Leslie Powell, artist, singer, songwriter, the the muse and the voice behind the original Angel City anthem, Our House, and our in stadium walkout song, Here Comes the Queen. Welcome, Leslie. My first question to you is, what was the inspiration behind Our House?
Oh my gosh, there were a million things that went into that song and a million different kinds of music. I think in our original conversation, Angel City told me that they wanted something that made people feel welcomed and celebrated and safe, and their goal was that Angel City's in Los Angeles, but they wanted fans all around the world, and so this song was really to try to reflect that mission and to kind of create that anthem so that it could be an anthem for every single fan. Something interesting is I think there's a lot of Spanish in there, and I think one of the big, like LA has a huge Hispanic and Latin culture, and so we wanted to represent that. But that was so new for me in a song, so it's kind of fun.
Well, we're thankful for it. We love Our House. It's what we play right before the game kicks off. I hope it feels. I know it fuels the fans. It fuels the players. It's awesome. So we're so happy to have you as part of the Angel City family that way. But I want to start off with what is probably the most difficult question we're going to tackle today. And that is, how do you define creativity? What is this topic that we are talking about? Brittany, I'm going to start with you. How do you define creativity?
Yes, yes. I saw this question and it was one I was thinking about all day. I think it's really hard to define. Um, but what I came up with was that I think we all have creativity inside us and we're all gifted in our own unique ways. And so it's just taking something that's within your mind and putting it into the physical world, whether that be with music or video or art or whatever it may be. So, yeah, just taking something and making something from it.
Yeah, I think totally that's right. I think originality is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of creativity and bringing something new into the world. And I think it's creativity for me is a place that just like doesn't have boundaries and doesn't have any sort of parameters in a thought process or like with what you're doing. And I think that magic's made when that happens. And it's really interesting because whether it's social media or whether it's like music or whatever job you're in, creativity is really what's fueling it, you know? It's it's kind of fun.
Obviously, we're here because this is a world that we're in. So I need to ask you guys, what are your personal creative strengths? What are the things that you believe you do really well and that you tap into when you are trying to create or make something? Leslie, I'll start with you. What are your strengths?
Um, I would say, well, for my job, I mean, I write music all day, so I love telling stories and lyrics and melodies. But I think I think my real creative strength is creating an environment that allows people or encourages people to share their like unfiltered thoughts. I think in a session, a lot of times in my world, like if you have to be totally vulnerable, and if you're not, and you don't, and you feel judged, or like you can't say certain things, like you don't get a good product, you don't get a good song. And so I think everybody has different strengths, and I think I'm really good at putting people in a position where their strengths shine, and where you can like just get a better product.
Yeah, I will piggyback off on that. I think, something that you wouldn't necessarily think of in the creative process, but what I think is my strength is execution and trial and error. I think just being willing to put myself out there to the world where I might be judged, in hopes that it's serving somebody else, and taking what works and spinning off on it, and taking what doesn't work and learning from it. It's a lot like being an athlete, just learning from failure, learning from what doesn't work, and just trusting the process, I think is the best part for me. And I think just being willing to execute every single day, and trust that.
All right, so you mentioned process. Let's dive into that a little bit. What do you do to find inspiration? What are the things that you do and tap into when you feel like, okay, I am sitting down to make something today or come up with an idea? What are the things that you do, or where do you look? Who do you look to?
Mm-hmm.
Brittany, I'll come back to you on that one.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I was so inspired when I heard somebody say that you're best positioned to serve somebody that you used to be, the person that you used to be. And so when I'm low on that inspiration, I try to think of, okay, what did Brittany 10 years ago need? What did Brittany 5 years ago need? Or even Brittany yesterday, what did she need? Because a lot of my creative process comes from things I am processing, thoughts, struggles that I'm processing currently, and trying to think of how I can serve somebody else in my shoes. And so I think coming back to that really helps me get that inspiration, but also drawing from others in the creative space. I mean, like I said, I never really thought of myself as a creative, but being inspired by so many other people, whether that be on the field or watching other people's videos, I find a lot of inspiration just in watching how others do it.
I find inspiration really everywhere. Uh, I laugh. My parents always joke with me because, like, anytime I'm in a conversation and they say something that has like a cool word or a phrase or whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh, can you hold on? Like, I need to write this down. I'm probably super annoying about it, but I am very fueled by people. And um, really, I mean, I write a lot from my personal experience, but I also find a lot of joy in like writing from other people's stories and hearing things, or even just like I sit and think a lot and I people watch. And so um, sometimes I'll just like go out and I'll sit at a coffee shop by myself and people watch and just kind of see any sort of like beauty that the world has, and I get very inspired.
I mean, it's true. It's everywhere. And that's a lot of what I do too. I mean, I have an entire folder on my desktop that's just screen grabs of things that I see randomly that I'm like, that's really cool. I think I could do something with that, or find a new way to work that in. Or, back when there were more print things, I was always someone who would just rip things out of magazines. I watched a lot of music videos. I would go like collect art books, like crazy things. I even at one point had a book that was business cards. It was a book of business cards. And I found inspiration in just these little things that people would write on their business cards, or how they would lay them out, or the design of them. It was like one of my favorite, inspirational books to look at, because and I think that's what it is. It's just about keeping your eyes open and keeping your ears open and just going out there in the world sometimes. And then, it's like taking those mental pictures of everything that's happening, or writing it down, as you said, Leslie.
It seems to come at the most inconvenient times at times as well. I'm sitting
So
down
true.
and I want to make something. I finally have time, and it's like, so I think writing it down is definitely important. Yeah.
I overestimate the things that I think I'll remember. So I do have to
Yes.
write everything down.
Yes.
All right. So we kind of talked about like how we get to the point of like sparking the idea for us, but then I want to talk about like how you guys kind of get to an end product. So, for you, Leslie, like, you've got your assignment or your idea or the song that you want to write. But then like, what's that process like? Are you get it all done at once? Does it need to take time? Do you need lots of feedback? Do you need like, space and time? Like what's your process?
I guess it's really different every single time. I write a lot of different genres, so depending on the project and what room I'm in that day, or like who I'm with that day, or how I'm feeling, it's really different. But I wake up every morning and I do stream of consciousness writing. So I basically just like write, whether it's a prompt or a word I give myself, or just like let myself go. And there's a lot of BS in it, but there's also, once you go back through, I find gold. So I usually go into a session with an idea, and it's usually with one or two people, and we kind of just throw stuff against the wall until it sticks. And then my biggest thing for creativity, period, is I write and then I rewrite and then I rewrite and then I rewrite until it's the way that I want it to be. And sometimes that could be in one day, and sometimes that could be in like, a month.
Right. So how much of all the things you're throwing at the wall, what percentage of it sticks, do you think? Just to like, because I think like not
That's a
everything's
good
gold, right?
question. No, not everything's gold at all. I think what I've learned throughout the years is that you might think an idea is stupid, but somebody else in the room hears that stupid idea and it spurs something that might make the entire song or might make the entire project. So some of the terrible things that you think are terrible might have made the song the best it could be.
And what about you, Brittany? So, there's a lot of content that you're creating on social media and that we all love to watch and see. And again, you started off by saying you didn't never thought of yourself as a creative, but you are now, you are creating things, and and you are having to go through this process of doing it because you do most of it on your own. So what's your trial and error like? And what's your process of trying to say, okay, I want to make something today, or, how do you get to the end?
Yeah, well, Leslie was speaking, I was agreeing. I know we do completely different things, but I think a lot of it is, I'm lucky that, social media posts you can just put out there to millions of eyes. Well, hopefully millions, sometimes it's only a couple, but get instant feedback of, does the audience resonate with this? Do they like it? Who likes it? Why do they like it? And so you can kind of just get that feedback right away, and learn from it and grow from it. And, I was thinking, I was like, oh, I don't really consult with anyone on my content. I kind of just put it out there and see what works. But the funny thing is, I'm consulting with my audience every single time I'm doing it. And over time, I'm learning and growing from, whether they liked it or not, by their watching, their views, their likes, their comments, anything like that. And seeing if it's something that I like too. I feel like there is a gut feeling that goes with the creative process. Is I started off and I'm like, okay, I want to serve this audience, or I want to get a lot of eyes on this post, but it's not something that makes me feel good. And I feel like if it doesn't resonate with me, it's not going to resonate with the audience as well. And it's not going to serve them in the purpose that I want it to. So I think over time, I'm finding more of myself in what I'm posting. And yeah, I think providing more and more value every time I get to know my audience better. And yeah, it's just a fun process of seeing what works and what doesn't.
Do you feel like you've almost had to become really brave in that sense? Is that you are just putting stuff out there, right? And it's a very visual medium, and it's you, and there's, you know, a joke might not land, or the message might not come across, and you're not gonna, with everything you don't know until it's out there. So have you like had to build up this almost like confidence of, even if they don't like it, I'm okay, because like I just want to put this out there and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard because I am an athlete first, and I've always been an athlete, and this is the career I care about. And I put stuff out there knowing my coaches see it, knowing other girls in the league see it that don't know me, and knowing that there might be an element of judgment that comes with that. And I've just had to accept that my value of, I want to serve the people who are in my shoes, and I want to be that voice for them and help them in any way I can, whether that's just with a laugh and feeling like somebody relates to them, or whether that's with, advice on a career path or whatever it may be, I have to choose that value over the value of caring what other people think, because at the end of the day, I have to remind myself that they don't fully know me. And yes, they may judge me off of a stupid joke I make because they think it's not funny, but I'm okay with that because I know I'm serving the purpose that I want to serve. Uh, but it's a hard battle every single day to choose that, because there is a judgment that comes with it, but it's kind of fun too. I think it's a challenge. I think I'm an athlete and I like challenge. And I think I like the challenge of putting myself out there because it is uncomfortable. And it's been a growth process.
I mean, gosh, especially in your position on the field. I mean,
Yeah.
The odds are against you. The net is much bigger than you are. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's innate in the career you've chosen, is that the odds are a little bit against you, but you're just like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm still going to stand in front of this net.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of the first time I played at the bank. I've played in 2 games at the bank this year. And the first time, all eyes are on me. I never played in front of that many people. And I did feel that sense of overwhelming pressure, but I did have to work through that, like I do every single day, whether that's on the field at practice or whether that's through my creative process of posting on social media. And I've had to work through that. And then I noticed in the second game that I played against Mexico, I felt so much stronger. And I know that happens every single time I step out on the pitch, and I just choose bravery and I choose strength over the fear of failure.
Leslie, what's a question for you is, you do a lot of writing, right? But then you perform at times. And so those are almost like two different senses of like this bravery that we're talking about, performing live versus, and you get that immediate feedback, versus when you write a song and you know that it's out there and that feedback's going to come back a little bit slower and not so in your face. Like, how do you manage those two different types of worlds that you're in, and the way that feedback comes at you?
Well, I think just like you were saying, Brittany, like when you're on the field, you can feel it's pressure for sure. Um, I think somebody told me once that pressure is a privilege, and I actually think about that all the time, because like I get to go like on the 25th, I like get to perform in front of that stadium. I get to pump up the crowd before you guys go on the field, and I think it's such an honor, but it's also really scary because you do have immediate judgment from people. And the same thing with social media, like you were saying, like I think I use it as a bouncing board. So like I'll put a song out there before I release it, and I'll sing it live, or I'll put, something out there to see if people actually resonate with it. And you have the freedom, and it's kind of, if people respond well, then I'm like, okay, let's put it out. If people don't respond well, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to reassess here. But there's a different pressure. I love them both. But yeah, they're just really different.
And so let's talk about what kind of keeps us going, right? And we sort of touched on a little bit, but what is it that fuels you to keep wanting to do the next video, create the next song, etc.? Leslie, we'll start with you. What motivates you to keep wanting to do this crazy business that you do?
I think for me, I love the process of writing music and being creative, but I think for me the joy comes from after people hear my music. And I remember I wrote this song for my friend who passed away a long time ago, and just writing it alone was therapeutic for me. But also, every time I've performed it live, somebody has come up and been like, man, like, I really needed to hear that today. And like being able to affect someone in a way or make them feel something that like maybe they wouldn't allow themselves to feel without music, I think is a really fulfilling thing. So that pushes me every time I feel like I've affected someone with my music. I get inspired.
And Brittany, for you, I think it's twofold, because I think like, what fuels you to keep wanting to create stuff on your social platforms, but also then what helps fuel you to like take the field that next day. I feel like those are two different types of performances in a way. So what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think it comes down to having to remind myself of my values. I know everybody knows you're not going to wake up motivated every single day when your body's hurting, or if you're in the creative process, if you have a total lack of motivation. But I just have to remind myself of the values that I carry. One of them being putting myself outside of my comfort zone and diving into that, whether that's on the field and I'm putting myself outside of my comfort zone by, playing and playing without fear, or whether I'm putting myself outside of my comfort zone with the creative process and putting something out there into the world, allowing myself to be judged, but also then the value of, you know, being that role model for the people in the stadium, boys, girls, anyone that comes to our game. I think that's what's so amazing about Angel City is they bring everyone together. And it does feel like such a privilege to be a part of a team that does bring everybody together, and that can be that role model that's on the field, that is the face of Angel City on the team. So I think that is a privilege, and that's what drives me every single day. And the same thing goes for my social media. If one person resonates, whether it's a funny post or a post that helps them deal with something emotionally that they're going through, it's meaningful to me, and that's what keeps me going.
I feel like there are times where we're just blocked, right? And we can't get to where we want to go. So I kind of want to talk about maybe there's a recent example of what put you in what you might call a creative funk or a slump. And then how did you get out of it? How do you get out of those times? Leslie, I'll start with you.
I'd say like for me creatively, like in a room, if I'm writing right then and I'm just stuck, I always go search for fresh air, or go on a walk because it just helps me get out of my own head. But then if it lasts for more than a day or a week or whatever it is, I just go hang out with friends, or I go experience something in life, or I truly go live, because without without like doing things daily, like I run out of inspiration. And so seeing people and hearing their stories and creating my own kind of fuels that for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I am the most creative when I either have my own life experiences or I'm listening to podcasts or reading books that inspire me and I resonate with, and then I can create my own spin on to help inspire others.
It's tough, but
Yeah.
it's really amazing to just say that the most creative thing you can do is just go out and live your life, So
Yeah.
a little bit of business I want to tackle. Obviously, this is one of our beloved Birdies conversations. The Game Changer, the limited edition version of the Swift, that is the Angel City official colors and emblem. That's what's literally on this shoe. You can still get it. We think it's the way to support and inspire and empower by wearing it. We hope people feel like a game changer when they wear it. You can get it on birdies.com, at angelcity.com, or go physically to a Birdies store. There's one right here in Los Angeles on Abbot Kinney. They're such a great partner for us because they care so much about all these kinds of conversations that we're having, to empower women and all people and help them with their personal and professional lives. So as we wrap this up, and I thank you for being such wonderful guests, what's a final thought that you have? Is it something we haven't touched on yet, or is there just that one piece that we've talked about already that you want to drive home, and this is the thing to remember from today? Brittany, let's start with you.
Yeah, I just think not being afraid to put yourself out there and learning and accepting the feedback, but also admitting that sometimes you are going to be scared. I always tell little kids are always like, how do you not get nervous before games and stuff like that? I'm like, I am always nervous before games. And I think most athletes are nervous before games because it means you care. And so putting yourself out there anyways, and then growing and being so proud of yourself that you're like, I felt this way. I felt so nervous and I did it anyways. You learn from that and grow that self-confidence over time. And I think that's just the most empowering thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, yeah, there aren't rules. Like we live in a world where there aren't rules about what we do, like our creativity. So I think, um, I just think that it's exciting that creativity is what you make it. And like we don't have to set boundaries. We don't have to like do anything. We can just, if we surround ourselves with people that really genuinely are creative and care about your creativity, then like, there's really nothing we can't accomplish. So it's fun to be on a call with people who are also really creative, because y'all's creativity, I think anybody that you're around that's creative bleeds into yours.
Yeah, and I just want to drive home that creativity can happen in every single vein of life. It's about what's not out there that you can provide and that you can bring that's new. And honestly, it could be something that seems as mundane as, a new filing system, all the way to, writing a screenplay. I think there's creativity in to be found in every single place. And it's what kind of drives us all forward and helps people innovate. And I don't know, it's just keeping the mind turning. So for me, that's what I think of when I think of creativity, is that it's literally in everything we do if we look for it and spend the time. All right. We love both of you, and we want to make sure everyone knows how to keep track of all the things you guys are doing. So Leslie, what can we look forward to from you coming up?
On September 30th, I'm releasing the first song of my new acoustic EP. And that it's called Stay Inside This Dream. So that'll be on September 30th.
Very, very exciting. And we can find you and your handles on social media. Where can we follow you?
Yes, it's Leslie Powell Music on Instagram and TikTok.
Terrific. And if you are looking for Our House, her songs that are associated with Angel City, Our House can be found under Angel City FC or Leslie Powell on all your major streaming platforms. And Here Comes the Queen, our amazing walkout song, is under Katana Riot, Katana with a K, Katana Riot on Spotify and everywhere you listen to music. Brittany, what are we looking forward to? What do you got going on?
Yeah, well, we have the last regular season game, so your support means the world to us. Just tuning in, watching that, hoping for that playoff push and into next year. I just really love being a part of this community, so that means the world to us. And of course, following along across my social media pages, I'm at Brittany1Wilson across pretty much everything. So yeah.
Well, we love following you. I love always seeing what you do. I feel like I've learned just a lot I've gotten inside the head of a soccer player by just following you on social media, which I feel like helps me better to do my job better in my whole team. So my goodness, thank you both for doing this. Lovely conversation. Appreciate you both, and can't wait to see all of the things that you guys have coming up and keep going. So thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks for having us.